Things happens in this life, especially in Zimbabwe. I never thought that in my lifetime I would be doing such a presentation. By the way, trying to make sense of what Rutendo Matinyarare has said regarding a presentation by Knox Chivero. I must underscore that the presentation that was done yesterday by Knox Chivero has been done also in a similar fashion by Blessed Keza, but this time around Knox Chivero made it resonate with an individual such as Rutendo Matinyarare, who has decided after hearing what Knox Chivero revealed yesterday, then I'm changing my mind regarding my support to Budawashe Tagwirei. A lot of people underestimate what Knox Chivero did yesterday, but you see, he was presenting his case, laying a foundation for things to come that will justify why the military would act against Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. In my view, don't take that for granted. That is laying the foundation for their case, laying the foundation for the programs or interventions that may be done in the very, very shortest future to come. Now, he says, are Knox allegations against Tagwirei true? That is Rutendo Matinyarare. And he says, I have been the biggest defender of Guda Tagwirei ever since I met him and heard his side of the story in January 2022. I have even punted him as a suitable candidate for president. However, yesterday, after listening to Knox, I have to say I had to reflect because some of the allegations made make sense. One, in January 2022, Tagwirei flew me to Harare for a meeting. We had a 3-hour meeting in which he told me about himself, how he was busting sanctions, how he made his money in fuel, and how he reinvested the returns into rescuing government-owned mines and banks affected by sanctions. In his account, he refuted the allegations made against him by Ace Lumumba and the proceeding reports by Sentry, Africa Risk Consulting, and Citizen Maverick. He then paid me a retainer to write a PR proposal for him and articles setting the record straight. However, he asked me not to write about the fact that he owned Akribos Capital, which holds shares in CPZ Holdings, Intermarket, ZB Bank, and Dokuma, which is digitalizing our title deeds. Not to write about his mining, construction, and contracting interest. That same day, he took me to a meeting with the president. More is coming, and we'll also be digesting this. Let me continue. Soon after, I had a meeting with then MP Themba Mliswa in Johannesburg, where I asked him what he knew about Guda from the parliamentary inquiries. In his response, Themba told me that Guda was a criminal and that CIO Director General Isaac Moyo had prepared docket on him, which had been handed to the ZRP for them to arrest Guda on corruption charges. Themba said that he had informed the president about the docket and the president requested it from the ZRP and shortly thereafter issued an instruction for the ZRP and Moyo not to proceed against Guda. This corroborates Knox's claims on this issue. Now he goes on to say, in March 2022, after ZASIM launched a court case against Biden, OFAC, and South African banks in the Gauteng High Court, the South African Banking Association filed a responding affidavit outlining that corruption and money were their reason for implementing sanctions on Tagwirei and Secunda. 6. They stated in their affidavit that because of the serious allegations made by US OFAC against Guda, which Guda did not refute, they were obliged to insulate the South African financial system from proceeds of corruption or risk penalties, criminal prosecution, and potential removal from the global financial system for facilitating money laundering. 7. As you can imagine, I was upset that my client and Zimbabwe's biggest sanction pastor was being accused of what I believe were false allegations by white monopoly capital to destroy a black entrepreneur. 8. I sent the affidavit to Guda, and he promised to depose a responding affidavit rebuting the allegations. For almost 1.5 years, we struggled to obtain this responding affidavit from Guda until we were pressured by the courts to submit our responses or risk losing the case. 10. Our lawyers then drafted an affidavit, which I sent to Guda for approval on the 13th of August 2013. 11. On the 14th of August 2023, Mr. Chitambo, Secunda's CFO, and I had a telephonic conversation in which he stated that Secunda did business with the government, so they needed security clearance as submitting such an affidavit to a foreign court could inadvertently disclose classified information. He then concluded by saying he would get back to me once they had clearance. From August 2023 until sanctions were removed in March 2024, Secunda continued to promise to return the signed affidavit rebutting the allegations made by OFAC and South African banks, but never did. So after listening to Knox allegations about how Guda allegedly stole government assets, I am left wondering why Secunda was unwilling to dispose affidavits to prove their innocence. More in my book, which I will release soon. You know, this information, this is a person who dealt with Gudawashe Tagwirei. In the process of dealing with Gudawashe Tagwirei, he was told certain details regarding his dodgy deals. He was told what to publicize and what not to publicize because of, fearing that his corrupt activities would be flagged. And now corroborating the information that was given and also the information that was refuted by Guda Tagwirei, and listening at the brilliant presentation that was made by Knox Chivero. I can tell you, Knox Chivero is second to none when it comes to presentation. I was really impressed yesterday. He made me understand, how Mnangagwa and Chiwenga fought, including other military generals, what led them to fight, and how good the military generals were to Mnangagwa. That Guda Tagwirei was supporting Robert Gabriel Mugabe, just shifted sides when he saw that Mnangagwa was coming in, and Mnangagwa was told, given detailed information about corrupt activities of Gudawashe Tagwirei and the monies that he has in offshore accounts. But Mnangagwa, hearing the figures, because he is after money, he went to Gudawashe Tagwirei and said, if you give me this money that I've heard you have, I will protect you. No one will arrest you. Now, the revelations made by Rutendo Matinyarare on Isaac Moyo, that he had prepared a docket for Gudawashe Tagwirei to be criminally prosecuted in Zimbabwe, and that docket was handed to the Zimbabwe Republic Police. Knox Chivero also the same information that they are dockets that were presented to the Zimbabwe Republic Police for these Ugandans to be acted on, and Mnangagwa didn't act, and that on its own it made him to fight with the retired military generals who expected corruption to be acted on and individuals to be targeted are the very same individuals that today he finds himself associating with. It's quite interesting. And also, you know, why I had to read what Rutendo Matinyarare was saying is also to give you an impression, especially those who are second guessing, why the Chiwenga faction keeps on detailing corruption and not acting. You cannot act upon an individual without exposing that individual. So the level where we are, it is the level of exposing that individual, how the military have tried to actually give this person a chance who was not popular, whom they imposed to the people of Zimbabwe. And Blessed Geza apologized for having done so. And how these individuals has even turned against the people who risked their lives to put him where he is. And what they told him before, and detailing how this command agriculture, which has been presented by many as a success story. And at one time, some military generals were saying they were actually praising. I think there was a time Chiwenga, as well as Sanyatwe, they spoke about command agriculture. Maybe was it for security reasons or intelligence reasons, and why would they speak about that publicly? But Knox Chivero, navigating around these waters, made it clear for many Zimbabweans. I'm telling you that these presentations being made by Knox Chivero, they are very impactful. They are eye-openers, especially in terms of people getting to appreciate and understand the extent of corruption that has been carried out by the regime of Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa, and also appreciating the necessity to act against this regime and make sure that an end is actually put to this regime. Otherwise, if it continues to breathe, if it continues to survive, the more harm it will cause to the state coffers, and also giving figures in terms of the money that has been stolen from the public coffers. So one thing I appreciate is that what is being done by Knox Chivero, it is making sense even to men and women who were bootlickers of Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa and this regime, when we were busy day and night telling them that ZANU-PF needs a complete overhaul and starting afresh. Zimbabwean politics, if it was possible, it needs to be dismantled altogether, and then we start constructing from start a new job, because it is highly tainted. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button, so that next time when you beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. I'm coming out. Do stay